David Crosby, founding member of two of the most popular bands of the 1960s, the Byrds, and Crosby, Still, and Nash, has passed away at the age of 81. A cause of death is not known yet. And just a remarkable influence on the world of music. Obviously, there's that whole Laurel Canyon vibe and that entire scene that really shaped popular culture and the sound of everything going forward from that time on. Just reading through the obituaries and stuff like that, and it's been cool to see all of his Crosby, Stills, and Nash brothers responding to it, though it's kind of awkward the way that they've been bringing up the historic feud while eulogizing him, saying it was never as bad as people thought it was. But just some fun facts here. His dad was a cinematographer in Hollywood and won an Oscar for the 1931 feature Taboo. He was raised in LA and Santa Barbara, but he never, just like all great rock musicians, never really found success in school and all of that stuff. But we'll get it into a lot of the other specifics about what he's done and stuff like that. But just overall, the memory of David Crosby.
Yeah, I mean, I like to keep the music above the drama. So very simply, I mean, if you're just looking at the chronology of like American rock music and who influenced who and what came out of what, very, very, very early in the roots of that tree are going to be the Byrds.
Yeah.
And are going to be some version of, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young, and all the stuff they were doing at that time. And as you said, with the Laurel Canyon thing, take away everything else these people were doing and how they were treating each other. If you go ahead and look at these records, they were some of the most influential albums that shaped the direction of rock and roll for decades and decades to come, and are still to a large degree. So in that regard, you can't take away anything from David Crosby's musical career in any sense. Is a long, rich life, as you said, LA royalty, like before he was even born. Story after story after story. I mean, even just strange stuff with David Crosby, even not the drama, just like, oh, I paid for like Phil Collins to get a kidney in 1994, or oh, I gave Melissa Etheridge semen for 2 children, and those are my children. And it's just like, what a funky ride. And I think you could get into the stories about how he was and the politics later in life. I don't really care for that. I'm just going to go ahead and listen to the Byrds and Crosby, Stills, and Nash and dig on the music and try to not fudge the whole thing, honestly.
Yeah. It's a awesome story. And, sure, they dictated the music side of thing, but I feel like they were he was very influential in like band dynamics and stuff like that. So he's with the Byrds. He gets fired with the Byrds because at Monterey Pop, he's sitting in with Buffalo Springfield.
Right.
Well, not fully, because, and then he goes up and they form the super group of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Young comes in later and stuff like that, and then they have all of their dysfunction and stuff like that. But has any album had greater just background player than his solo debut in 1971? If I could only remember my name. He had backing from Nash, Young, Joni Mitchell's, members of Jefferson Airplane, the Grateful Dead, and Santana.
I mean, come on. It's basically an all-star record. Yeah, it's a wild lineage that's gonna spin off for a long time. And I think too, as history goes on, like as we watch 80s movies through a certain lens, and as we view certain things through a certain lens, and people's behavior as we go through history, like something that's becoming apparent of some of the really early 60s rock stuff is these people were raised by the times of the 30s and 40s. And as you said, David Crosby comes from, LA, Illuminati elite. And, there was just like the male chauvinism, the ego, the one-upsmanship that was going on in that time is very akin to what I think like the same white people in power were doing in corporate America at the same time, and they fell victim to it. As much as they wanted to be hippies and progressive, being a hippie and a progressive at that time was still coming out of like the 1940s, and it wasn't quite there yet, you know. So it's as time goes on and we look at people like this, I think we are going to have to like keep abstracting our lens on how we want to see it, you know.
Yeah. What's even sadder than that is, I think, the fact that we're just losing a era of people, but a era of people that are have had a big impact on not just like what entertainment is in the 21st 20th century, but just like the sound and just because they represent something to a lot of people that I think is going to stand for a long time. If you look at great eras of music, you look back to like classical and like Mozart and like stuff like that. In a way, for a lot of people, the 60s was kind of a revolution or a renaissance on a part too. So we're losing that era up through the 70s, like your Tom Petty's and stuff like that. So just sad all around. We got to cherish these people while they're still here.